Anyway, today we wanted to talk about mindset. As I mentioned earlier, that's almost always our starting point because it's a starting point with anything in our lives. As I said, it flows through everything we do in any, probably just really in any area of our lives. Mindset can make things better or worse, easier or harder, and any other adjective and superlative you want to use there. That's really the way mindset works. And we have found for us that learning to move from a fixed mindset into a growth mindset helps tremendously. And in our challenge, we talked a little bit about growth versus fixed mindset. But specifically just really delving into how mindset works and some of the tools and things to help master mindset a little more. We think it's one of the biggest and most important and easiest ways to up level our lives that we've experienced. And we hope to share that with others as well. So we're just going to have kind of an open discussion right now, very organic. We don't have necessarily any kind of agenda, but I will say that I'll maybe start with this. One of the reasons I in particular wanted to talk about mindset is that I was thinking about this just the other day, maybe a week or two ago, right before we planned this event. I was somewhere, might have been on the lake, hanging out, doing something, and I was thinking about, mindset. We should start with mindset. And then I was thinking about the word mindset itself, and I thought mindset is very interesting. The word mindset starts with mind and the set. And what occurred to me is that we set a lot of things in our lives. We set our calendar, we set our clocks, we set our watches, we set our TV to, I don't know, record the things we want to watch, or we set, maybe that's old, maybe we don't do that anymore. But we set a lot of things in our lives. We even set our hair in curlers if we want to curl it. But I've never really thought about it in the sense that, are we setting our mind? How are we setting our mind, and are we actually setting our mind and really thinking about that? And so that was one of the things that really occurred to me, is to actually look at the word itself. And I thought it was really important because if you don't set your calendar, I think we tend to be a little less organized, right? If we don't set a calendar, not always, but that is the point of setting a calendar. The point of setting your alarm clock is so you get up at the time you want to get up, so that you have the result you want. You set your calendar so you have the result you want, so that maybe your life is more planned out and more organized and less chaotic, or maybe even less busy. Maybe you set your calendar so it's calmer. But we set a lot of things in life, but I don't know that most people set their mind. And that is the whole point of being in a mindset and having a mindset and being aware of your mindset. So that's what occurred to me when I thought about mindset the other day was, we're setting all these things in our lives to get the result we want. Maybe it's time to really start looking at setting our mind to get the result we want, which is the whole point of thinking about mindset, working on mindset, using tools for mindset. So I just wanted to share that little kind of, light bulb I had about the word mindset itself. I never really thought of it that way. And to me, that kind of helped to start thinking of it that way, and helped me start to realize, okay, I actually need to start setting my mind, not just setting my clock, not just setting my calendar, but actually not just setting my schedule, but actually setting my mind and getting it into the right space in order to get the outcome that I want in life. And so anyway, that was my thought on that. And I don't know if anybody wants to jump in there with any experiences they've had or any.
If you wanted to buy a new car, you would set your mind on it.
That's right.
And you would get there. So I want to be successful. I want to do good things. So I've set my mind that way. But it takes repetition and consistency. A year ago, I didn't talk in our Zoom meetings, I don't think.
Not much. That's true. That's true.
So in my little mindset cheat sheet, number 5 in the 5 topics that I have is self-confidence. And I think that's what I went for first in building my mindset, was I wanted to build my self-confidence, to find my voice, to be able to open up and talk to people, like just was. So I started with self-confidence, um, seeking out experiences that push the comfort zone. Wow. Anyhow, somebody else take over.
So that's a growth. That was part of your growth mindset, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. So yes, I want to grow to be self-confident. Yeah. So when I'm in a room with 800 people, I'm not like, shut up. You know, it's like, because that happens. I mean, some people are like introverts and some people are extroverts even. And then I think it's just it's a mindset. It's I used to do a half hour on the elliptical at the gym, and I'd say, "Hi, my name is Jeff. Hi, my name is Jeff." I know.
Well, there you go.
For half an hour.
Yeah.
At the same time, I was building a consistent exercise program. They said
In your
like
mind.
9 weeks, and you can kind of get that set in, and your body gets to wanting it. It's a mindset thing.
Mind exercise the body.
You set your mind on something and you continue moving forward through it. Yeah.
And for me, the one time I remember back when I had a transplant, that I had requested everybody that walked into the room that they did not cry and that they had to wear bright colors. And I didn't realize at that time I was creating a mindset of positive energy for everybody to walk in that room so we could concentrate on me getting healthy. And didn't even know it. I think at that time that I was setting my mindset to get something for me to grab all their good energy that they came into the door. So that was one of my earliest mindsets that I definitely set, but didn't realize I was setting it at the time as a mindset.
Right. So that's a good point too, Sue, because not only did you set your own, but you requested that people come to you with a particular mindset as well, or at least in, and you weren't asking them to change their mindset necessarily. You were just asking them to be in a particular place when they were with you, because that's what you needed from them. So you not only had setting your own mind, but you were also asking for what you needed around mindset from other people while they were with you,
Right.
which is huge, really.
Yeah. How many people do that? That's awesome.
Jeff said we set our thermostat. You're right, we did.
Yes,
Thank you, Jeff.
that's a Tony Robbins story, but we set our thermostat.
Yeah, we do.
Thermostat for what's comfortable,
Right.
which is going to work, paying the bills. Well, that's not always comfortable, but that hamster wheel we can set for that.
Right.
We can set to learn something better and maybe master it. I was reading the effort towards mastery we should celebrate, but that it does take a personal choice to say, hey.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not easy. I mean, maybe a lot of times it's not easy to either be aware of your mindset and change it, or to even be initially aware of it can be rough sometimes. I think for me, I think the first sign for me that I'm in a more fixed mindset, which tends to be a more negative one, is just that I start noticing I've got more negative thoughts, like, oh, the weather sucks today, or and I'm like,
nobody deserves to have $1 billion.
where I live. So like, why am I choosing to feel
Who says that? I'm sorry to interrupt you. But...
You, because you live in Florida.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I noticed, I think one of the biggest, I guess, signs for me that maybe I need to change my mindset or pay attention to it is if I'm noticing that I'm having negative thoughts, or that I'm feeling a little more down or a little more negative. That to me is kind of a red flag or a trigger that says, hey, pay attention, Andrea. you might have some mindset stuff going on here. And then, you know, there's lots of tools to change it. One of the things I love that keeps me pretty on target is meditation, to meditate every morning.
When I meditate, like all the junk in my head just pops out and says, hello, here I am. Meditation is just not going well for me. With mindset for me lately, because I've been in a, you know, rearranging my life. Sometimes you just got to do that. I've been listening to inspirational, motivational speaking in the morning, and it seems to help. It seems to get me like pumped up in the right direction. If I catch myself slipping in a negative mojo, I put that on, so that way it kind of alters my thinking into a more positive atmosphere where I want to get up and go and work on my stuff and stop procrastinating, because you know it's just so easy to like Jeff said, get in that hamster wheel. Like it just keeps rolling and rolling and rolling, and in order to get out of that hamster wheel, you got to reprogram yourself. So I find like listening to something more motivational first thing in the morning, it sets the whole day up.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. Zena, are we saying your name correctly?
Yeah, that's actually my nickname, Xena Warrior.
Well, it's a darn good nickname. Speaking of
Love it.
mindset, that's a great mindset.
I like
Right.
Yeah. Thank you.
What Zena just highlighted, and what we've all been saying, it's a decision. You know that it's a mindset is a decision. You know, you make a decision not to stay where you are. You make a decision. So, you know, and how mindset works is you do, as like we've spoken about a lot, staying in a fixed mindset is never a good thing, because as we've learned from where we started, that, you know, we always hear from Dean, Grazzy will say, if you're not growing, you're sliding.
Right.
So your mindset will help you grow. So that's why we always want to be in a growth mindset.
Mhm.
And that's why we'll realize that we'll do things like Sue said, she told the persons to come in the room with bright colors. I remember when I was sick too, and could, you know, everything I would eat would come back up. You made a deliberate effort to not watch things with food or something like that, because that's going to upset you. So you know, you realize that a mindset is a decision, and if, like Jeff and Zena pointed out, if you don't make the decision that you need to make, then you're just going to end up in a cycle, a downward cycle. So a change in your mindset, having a growth mindset state is critical to just live in. You know, find what works for you. Like Zena said, it's music, it's listening to something motivational. A community also helps. You know, like this community we have formed, a community helps you as well to get you going. So whatever the important thing is to make that decision and actually do something about it.
You
I
know,
thought,
oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I thought I knew what mindset was, but I thought, you know, when I knew we were going to do this, I wanted to look into it a little deeper. So I went to one of my favorite places, Barnes and Noble, and they said that this really is flying off the shelves. Can you see it?
No.
I wonder how I can get it so you can.
What
We have
book
to
is
hold it
it?
closer to you.
Closer to you. There you go. Oh,
yeah.
Carol Dweck. I've heard of her.
Yeah, no,
It's
she's written some great stuff.
And it really changed my mind, because I thought if I had a negative mindset, it kind of permeated throughout my life, or if I had a positive one, it permeated. And one of the things that brought up is you can have a fixed mindset in one area and a growth mindset in another area.
Yes, you can.
Very
Interesting.
easily.
Rather than this global, I'm either growing or I'm fixed. And another thing, as a background as being a teacher, it talks about how a lot of times parents and teachers will say, you're so smart. I'm so proud of you. You got a good grade on that thesis or whatever you did. And we're setting him up to say, oh, okay, I have to meet this criteria every time. And what we should be zeroing in on is, what process did you use to get that? What did you study a certain way? Did you delve deeper and explore into it? And I really kind of shifted my thinking, because people think when they're paying a compliment that, you know, that's going to be all positive. Then a lot of times it sets people up for failure. And there's a difference there. In a fixed mindset, you're afraid you're going to fail. In a growth mindset, you hope you do because you can learn from it.
Exactly.
So,
But
I haven't finished this, but this talks about it in business. It talks about it in love life. It talks about it in all areas of your life. So if you're a reader, I would highly recommend that.
Oh,
you know,
cool.
we use I think we throw out the word failure too often, because, you know, failure isn't the opposite of winning. You know, you can win or lose, but it's like, there's people talk about success, they talk about failure. Failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is a required step to learn. You know, you don't learn from your successes nearly as much as you do from your failures, because you learn what not to do. How many times does a child fall learning how to walk? You know, they don't fall 3 times, say, I guess this walking thing's not for me, I'll just crawl for it. Okay? Failure is a required building block. People learn to embrace failure as the necessary costs of learning to go on to do great things. What people really need to learn is the opposite of success is quit. You're not a failure until you quit. As long as you keep getting up, it's like we used to have saying in the military, you know, the definition of a successful submarine is one that surfaces at least as many times as it submerges. Okay? As long as those two numbers are equal, you're okay. If one of them's out of balance, you may have an issue. You know, mindset's an interesting thing, because it's, you know, one of the things I've learned is you might think you have self-discipline and willpower, and that's going to get you through, and it's not. Because willpower, you can agree or not, 100% of the time will fail over time. And by that I mean it's like a cell phone. When your cell phone's all charged up, you can do all kinds of stuff on it. You get down to 5% battery and it's like, yeah, maybe not so much. Just like in the morning, you get up and you see a donut on the counter and you go, you know what? I'm cutting carbs, I'm cutting out the sugar and stuff, I'm good. You go through and you have a hellish 9-10 hour day. You come home, you're exhausted, you're beat, and you look at that donut and say, you know what? I deserve that donut. What happened to your willpower? Well, when you were fresh, it's just like if you eat a big meal, you've had a great dinner, you're full, you're completely satiated. They can bring out the best prime steak or, you know, whatever you really like, your favorite dish, and it's like, yeah, no, thank you. I'm good. Same thing with willpower. When you're fresh and you're strong, you can say no. But over time, you're going to wear down. Anybody that's ever had kids knows that. First thing in the morning when you're all chipper and stuff, and they say, Mommy, can I have this? Daddy, can I have this? And you're like, no. But when they've been going, can I for the last 12 hours, just give them something, please.
And they know it too.
It's either that or you duct tape them and put them in the closet.
Okay, now.
There's not a lot of choices there. And
Right.
Jeff brought up a really interesting point I wanted to get back to. He talked about being an introvert. I've had some interesting conversations with some interesting people in my life. You know, I've talked to people at the bottom of the social economic spectrum, and I've had a chance to talk to billionaires. And one thing I've learned is you would be surprised, almost horrified, how many highly successful people that give up and give TED Talks that are introverts.
That's because they're speaking with passion. When you bring the passion out, it's so much easier to talk.
That's not necessarily it. and this is coming from them. This isn't my observation. This is what they've told me. I've had a lot of Zoom calls with people that make 7-8 digits a year recently, and they'll tell you, they're introverts that have learned to be extroverted because they have to. It's the cost of doing business. You don't get your product, your service, your whatever you do out there. It's the last thing you want to do is have the greatest thing in the world and have it be the community secret. If you've got something great, it's like hire a band, go out there and let everybody know about it, because that you need to get the word out there. If you keep it to yourself, it doesn't help anybody. If I've got the cure to cancer, I've got something, I can mix up this tonic, you drink it, you'll never have cancer the rest of your life. But I keep it to myself, what service has that done to the world? But if I go out, hey, look at me, look what I got, look what I got. It's not about me. I'm trying to help you. I've got something for you. And you can have a lot of detractors. You can have a lot of people say, no, I don't think so. I'm skeptical, whatever. Well, at least look into it. Check it out. Nah, I don't think so. Well, you know what? I'm not looking for the people that say no. I'm looking for the people that say yes. I've been around the world a couple times, either on my own or in the military, and I've seen a lot of statues erected to people that were criticized, but I've never seen a statue erected to a critic.
Well, I think that's interesting though, because I think there is some passion behind that, because you have to be passionate about what you're doing and what you're selling. And so while they may not realize that that's part of what's behind it, I think, because I'm an introvert 100%, I always have been, but I have learned how to be an extrovert, kind of like what you're saying. But most of the time it's when I'm passionate about something like this kind of stuff. Or if my income or business depends on it. And so maybe there's a combination of that too. But I think there's a connection there to some degree, at least for me, because I know that if it's something that I really don't care about, I'm usually pretty quiet. Or if it's not directly related to like my job, like it's something I'm required to do for my job. Like in my previous job, I had to run, do presentations once in a while. I had to do them in person, and it's not my favorite thing to do, but it was required for my job. And, I enjoy engaging with people when it's a smaller group of people, and it happened to be. So I was able to sort of overcome probably part of my fixed mindset that I don't want to do this because I don't want to get out there. But I was able to sort of go back into my growth mindset. Well, I don't have to. I probably could have told my boss I really don't want to, but I was like, well, this will help me grow. It's a good experience. I am passionate about the topic to some degree. It was water conservation at the time. But all my stuff I do now is health and wellness, and I'm super passionate about that. So I do think there is a connection there. But I did have to like sort of consciously pull myself out of a different mindset of I don't really want to into I really need to. This is important for me. This is important for the people who want to hear it. I don't know.
I think Zena was right too. As far as the passion, because passion pushes us to do things like you said that we're uncomfortable with, and you have to set that priority to get where you want to go. And it's like, it's just going to serve me the goal I want to be. If you play it out and I don't do it, what am I losing? If I do it, what am I gaining? And I think that the passion makes you repeat it, and the more you repeat it, the more it becomes ingrained as far as your mindset.
And it becomes a habit.
Right.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I'm actually an inventor. I'm very passionate about my products, and I've had to learn how to do the 60-second speech and say it with a quickness and passionately about it. Because if you don't gain their interest within those 60 seconds in an elevator speech, they're right out the door, and there goes who's going to help you. So it's not how you how you make them, it's how you make them feel. And when you bring that passion in and you kind of show them like your mindset and back to mindset, of how you feel about it, it brings them into your world of how it makes them feel about it, and then it's just, it all connects really if you think about it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And these are all examples of how you can be a fixed mindset in one area and a growth mindset in another.
Yeah, I want to touch on that.
It's what is it that gets you out of your comfort zone, and that's why it's so critical to be careful what you put into your mind. Now,
Right.
we're going back to my technical end before, and I've used this example more than once, is GIGO. You know, we have a term in the computer field, good in, good out, garbage in, garbage out. Your computer, as well as your mind, because it's the most powerful computer on the planet, is only as good as its programming. That's why you need to be careful about what you read, what you listen to, who you surround yourself with, what you watch. I can tell you where you're going to be in 5 years based on what you're putting in your mind. You know, if you look, it's been said, and actually it's very true. They've studied it several times, but you will tend to be the average of your 5 closest friends. You look at their finances, their what they do, maybe as far as integrity, whatever. You will tend
weight,
to,
how their body shape is, weight,
yeah, exactly.
like health. Yeah, it's all.
I learned years ago, if I want to look thin, I'll go hang out with really big people. Yeah.
No, the
Yeah, just the opposite.
Well, you know,
Oh, if you want to be thin, hang out with thin people, because that kind of their habit, their
the
mindset.
reference. It's the reference.
That's where my martial arts come from. They all super fit, so I'm just like, okay, 500 lunges right now. Keep going. That's a half
Who can do that many lunges? Who can do that many lunges?
A million lunges.
Seriously
Oh
now.
my God. Jeff, you wanted to touch on meditation a little bit, you said? Did you want to jump in?
Zena said that when she meditates, all her thoughts come flooding in. And I had just had a conversation this morning because I was meditating this morning. And you know, your thoughts don't stop.
No.
But when you slow down enough that you're only thinking 1 or 2 at a time, and then you can look at them and you can kind of sort them out. Like, does this serve me? If it's not a good thought, then it's like, oh, you can choose to put those away. Or, oh, this is a good idea, I should remember it. They just slow down. They never go away.
I think the secret is to let them go by and see that they are normal. They're just a thought. You're not living there.
Yeah, you're not doing it wrong, though.
Yeah, and I don't think there's it's interesting that Zena said that too. It made me laugh, Zena, because I've been meditating regularly for about 2 years, but prior to that, meditation was not my thing. It was not my thing because I thought, see, I had an interesting mindset about meditation. I thought I had to clear my mind, and I couldn't do that.
No.
And so it was frustrating to me. And so my meditation had become frustrating to me. But then I found the Deepak Chopra app, which I love. And he had it. Deepak and Oprah have done many meditations together. And so somehow those spoke to me differently than other meditations had in the past. And I think he said it multiple times, you know, it's not about clearing your mind completely. And I was like, oh, and then I felt like that sort of like released me, that like gave me the permission to not stop my thoughts. Like I can't stop my thoughts completely. And so his are they're led guided meditations. And so I can do those easier than I can do just like music and on my own or whatever, or just on my own. I find those to work a little better for me, to have someone lead me in the beginning and then I can go on my own. But it's just, it made me laugh, Zena, because a while back couldn't do meditation at all. I also didn't like yoga, and now I like yoga. So we all change, I guess, I don't know, our opinion changes or our needs change or whatever. But that was my challenge, was that I had kind of I think a mistaken understanding about meditation. And now I like it because, kind of like what Faye said, I seem to be able to, they describe it as it's like looking at the sky and just watching clouds go by. And I can do that. I can't do it for very long.
You know,
I maxed out at about 15 minutes, but
I can't close my eyes.
Another book I'm reading is on intrusive thoughts and how we all have them, and then we tend to judge ourselves, for having that thought, and there shouldn't be a judgment. It's just there.
Right. And that's what I was doing.
I heard a book from it's called The Power of Now, and it's a monk. He's writing this book, and he says in there that you have to look at your thoughts as if they're a little child, and they're just they're not your thoughts. They're just things that are rambling in your head, and so you can't really own up to those thoughts. It's just a little child in your head just rambling, and that's how you got to look at them, and then decipher, oh, well, that's a good thought. Oh, that's not a good thought. Bad child. I mean, it's just different. There's different perceptions, I guess you could say.
And just think of it as a thought.
Yeah, and I know for me, the meditation might be more for me in my journal. Is another way that I consider meditation, in the sense that technology has always been one of my challenges, but I have now learned to use the word, if I'm having a problem, I'm going to, I use the word yet at the end. I'm not there yet, not saying I can't and it's not going to happen. I allow myself that continuation. I'm just not there yet. And then, but by writing it down, I can visualize it better for me than sometimes the thinking of it in my head.
That's a good one, Sue. I like that.
When I was in the artist way, I'm an artist. We used to. It's actually a book, The Artist Way, and part of the Artist Way, we do this every summer. Have an art exhibit. It was wonderful. I loved it. But part of it was in the morning while you're fresh out of, slumber, write like 3 pages, just ramble. It's like all your thoughts just go down on that paper. It's like all garbage. It starts off negative and then something positive will pop out of there. But it's like you just take that and you throw it all down on the paper. And like you said, it is like a meditation, writing it down in your journal. And we
like
thought
a brain
about
dump.
Yeah, exactly. And then it was just a way of releasing that creativity where, you want to talk bad about so-and-so, do it on the paper and then, crumble it up. And
there you go. That's a good one.
That would be interesting to do it at the end of the day, too, to see if
I think a lot of people do. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I think
You
a lot of
guys are
people
complicating this way too much.
No, I just wanted to say, talk about
trial and error.
meditation again. Go ahead, Deb. Sorry. What? Something that worked for me. I've been meditating 20, 30 years. But I'm not consistent with it because sometimes I need it more than I do other times. And I'm always in a different space. So you just never know. Your 20s are different than your 60s. So I have been meditating for a long time, but what worked for me, the thoughts, like Zena was saying, the thoughts that come in and then right away you want to judge yourself. So I'm not even sure where I learned this procedure, but it said if you want to start out meditating, just count 1, 2. And just do that for as long as you can, because the thoughts are going to come. They're going to come. But when they do, you catch yourself and say, oh, okay, I'm lost in my thought. Come back. 1, 2. And it takes practice and it takes time and it takes dedication. That's really what you want. But meditation doesn't work for everybody. So I just thought
and like Andrea said, some things may work at one phase of your life and something else may
right.
A different phase. Before we get too far, I want your opinion on something. Kurt said, as long as you're not quitting, you have the growth mindset. I had something this week that everything fell at once, and I just said to myself, I quit. And I went to it's called Crow Knit that I do, and I just sat there and did that whole day. That's all I did. And that's what I needed at the time to get back to the growth mindset, because I was finally thinking about doing something for me.
Faye, did you say you were knitting?
It's called Crow Knit. There's 2 needles
the big
on
needle.
both sides, and you.
Oh, I've never
So you
heard of
lost me at knit.
Gotcha.
So actually, that's more like
That's okay, because you lost me at quit.
Yeah.
But I think so maybe, you know, again, words are words and they're different for other people. So
Yeah.
maybe you didn't actually quit, or maybe you did quit, but it's a different kind of quit. It sounds to me like what you actually did was self-care, Faye.
Yeah.
And by the way, you know, I think there are times when you need to quit. I was reading, oh God, what was it? I can't remember what book it was. It was this huge book. This was like 20 years ago, and everybody talked about it. It's the greatest book ever. And so I picked this book up. It's like a 900-page book. I'm 100 pages in, and I'm bored to tears. And I'm like, I've got 800 pages left. This is a lot of my time to commit to this book that I currently
Try
don't like.
audio. I love audio.
Well,
Audiobooks
audio
are
too, but I just didn't like the book at all. And I was like, you know what? Because, and I'm very much a perfectionist. I'm very much start to finish. I'd never done this in my life probably. And I was like, I'm not finishing this book.
It's
I'm
not
done.
War and Peace, is it?
It wasn't War and Peace.
He
No.
spends like 25 paragraphs describing a jacket. I mean, really?
oh man.
No, in fact, I should look it up on Amazon right now and see if I can find it. But I just decided, you know what? Like, I'm giving my permission to quit this book because I don't feel like it's helping me. I'm not enjoying it. I'm getting nothing out of it. Maybe if I read the whole book, I get something out of it. But what if I don't? And I just spent the next 2 weeks reading this book for nothing. And I'm like, you know what? I'm giving myself permission to walk away from it. I think
Maybe you ask Chad for a synopsis.
there you go. I need to talk to
There you go.
ChatGPT. I should really do that right now because find out what I missed.
To be clear, when I use the term quit in that context, it's more referring to giving up. There's a difference between giving up and walking away to refresh your eyes. And I told you
Consciously,
before,
yeah.
I've worked on equipment, I've worked on systems where if I stare at something for a couple hours and I'm thinking no new thoughts, and that applies to meditation. I'll get back to that in just a second. But if I'm not thinking anything new, I have to leave, totally flush it out of my mind. I need to take a 10, 15-minute break and get away from it so I can come back at it with fresh eyes. Sometimes you'll be in a situation where you look at something and say, I'm done. Forget it. This is over. I'm out of here. And you have to go away for a little bit. Growing up, the times would be working on an engine. And it's a lot nicer when you don't have to have a project where you can walk away for 3 weeks if you need to. But there'd be times, you can only split your knuckles open so many times where you throw a wrench across the garage, say, I'm done. And then you come back at it at your leisure. Okay? Now, to get to meditation, I think y'all complicate it too much, but it's the nature of the beast. Because I can only speak for myself. I don't know if Jeff wants to chime in, but men are simple creatures. We're kind of like dogs. We have the ability to have no thought. There are many times there's nothing in my head. People look, wonder what he's thinking. It's probably something really. No, there's nothing there. I've just gone on tilt for a minute. I'm just in a respite.
I find that hard to believe.
Yeah, I'm pretty
It's called
well, because
it's called the
women,
nothing box. They call it the nothing box.
It's like they talk about women live in a barn. No matter where they are in a barn, it's all one big room, and so they'll be over in this corner, but they're still thinking about that corner. That's the reason our civilization survived, because they're paying attention to the kids even when they're doing 15 other things. And men don't. We do one thing. We go from room to room, and that's why we can be in a knockdown, drag-out fight with somebody, go on and do something else because it's a new mental room, and 10 minutes later we're whistling and having a good time. We're doing it because we're in the middle of something else, because what we just left is totally out of our brain, which really pisses off significant others sometimes. But
that's the way I was when I drank.
So when I I don't worry about meditating. I just shut down. That
does not mean that.
No thoughts.
I just wanted to share that we mentioned a name that you might not be familiar with. The Chat GPT that's currently out there, we have shortened in this group, we have shortened the name to Chad. So if you ever mention that, it's when we've gone out and looked at Chad.
The AI.
The AI.
Okay.
So that's funny for there.
To be fair, some of it may be because I've got years in martial arts and firearm training and stuff where you're focused on your breathing and incorporating everything. So when I blank out like that, I'm just aware of my body and what's going on because it provides me a stable platform. So that could also be part of it.
It's literally
But
called
I do
the
zero
nothing
out.
box. It's called the
Yeah, I
nothing
do
box, and
zero
all
out.
men have it apparently. In fact, there's a
Yep.
great short comedy skit. I can't remember who the comedian is. He's a man, but he talks about the nothing box, and it is hilarious.
Well, it's funny because women will try and analyze guys. It's like, I wonder what he's thinking. He's like, let me clue you in. He's not.
They're in the nothing box.
This is a mindset issue. You all
He's just
very
content to
fixed
just be
mindset
content.
about men and women. You know what? Hello.
I thought all mindsets were created equal.
So
No,
Maybe
see,
not.
let's talk
that's
about women.
that's a misconception, and even Samuel Colt understood it, because it says, there was a saying back in the late 1800s that men weren't created equal, but Samuel Colt made them equal.
Who's Samuel Colt?
Samuel Colt?
Yeah.
He invented the Colt, the firearm, Colt revolver.
Oh, okay.
The great equalizer, because
Interesting.
it's like training personal defense. We always assume a bigger, faster, stronger opponent. Because
you know what? That's not necessarily true.
Because when was the last time you were ever attacked by somebody smaller, weaker, and slower than you?
Actually, I've been in martial arts too, and
really?
they call me short cake because I'm only 5'2". And
Girl after my own heart. Me too.
Yeah. So and I get the breathing because not necessarily my sensei anymore, but he would tell me to breathe in through my nose. He didn't like the out the mouth shit. That's what he would say. And but I, as a short woman and a stronger opponent, I would have to take out your legs or your groin or something like that. I attack you low, so I bring you down, so then I can attack you. So it's all, that's another mindset. It's a mindset on how do you attack from your perspective, from you.
I was just going to say that. That's a good point.
But that's it. You train for a bigger, stronger, faster opponent. That's why you're not training technique as much as target. You hit the soft spots, because I don't care if you're 400 pounds of solid muscle.
I'll take your knee out.
If I put my forearm 2 inches into your throat, you're shutting down.
Yep.
Because nobody has muscle in front of their throat. It's a weak point. There's about 80 weak points on the body. That if I drive by,
I got a metal plate and screws.
Maybe not Jeff's throat.
Hey, the throat is like a vacuum hose, and when you shut it off, it's all gone. It's pulling out the cord.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting though, because talking about martial arts, because martial arts incorporates a huge mindset. I haven't done it in a long time, but I did jujitsu when I was younger, and it's really interesting how much. And I also did Tai Chi when I was in my late 20s, early 30s. And it's really interesting how much that incorporates mindset. Again, mindset is everything, and it's everywhere, right? We just don't realize it. But I remember with Tai Chi, Tai Chi is very slow and very intentional, and I loved it. And I didn't realize it when I took the class, but later into the class, I just did it because it was like something cool. I'd never done it before. It was, cheap at our rec center, whatever. But there was me and a lot of older people, because it's really great for balance, right? But
it's a powerful martial art.
It is powerful, and I didn't realize that. I was just going into it thinking, this will be fun, it'll be interesting, meditative. And by the way, Tai Chi is very meditative. But at some point, the instructor pointed out, this is a martial art. And here is why. Because all the movements, although they were slow, actually have intention. And if you speed them up, they become an actual self-defense. Like there was one movement where you kind of sweep your arm. This is a leg sweep, like if someone's trying to kick you. And I had no idea until he connected that for me. And there were two women who were his assistants, till they sort of showed that. And I was like, oh. So I went into this thinking it was just a slow thing, and it is.
Tai Chi is a very slow meditative kata. You know the opening where you just come up like this?
Yeah.
If you speed that up, that's for a double wrist grab. If you speed that up, you will literally whiplash somebody.
Yeah,
because they can't go fast.
Other uses and intentions.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was just interesting to me that I did
And
not
see,
know that, but it's a very strong motion.
Part of that is it's a meditative thing, but when you're doing Tai Chi, you're perfecting all the techniques. So you're getting your target perfect. And
Exactly.
that's also how we train. Anytime you train something that can be lethal, whether it's firearms,
You train it slow.
personal defense, whatever, you go slow because
Always
it does
slow.
two things. You're
Repetitive.
protecting each other.
Repetitive and
You want to
slow.
give your reaction partner time to get, to react without getting hurt. But also it puts it into muscle memory and it gets your accuracy.
The
Too
mind
many
of no
people.
thought.
Yeah,
Say that
well,
again, Dina.
what typically happens with most people, they want to be good now. They want to look cool and be good now. And that's how people get hurt. They come in, they want to do it fast.
Get
Well, if
froggy.
you don't do it slow, you won't do it properly fast, you'll be sloppy, you'll get hurt, or you'll hurt somebody else. When I was doing like side kicks, I go home and practice side kicks. I do 30 side kicks. It sounds like 30 is not very many, but when you're doing them 30 seconds long, 15 seconds out, 15 seconds back with perfect balance,
I
target,
like
and
that.
everything else,
That's a good
it
technique.
really builds the muscle up, but it also
For sure.
affects your technique. Because when I tested for my black belt, basically you get to spar for 30 minutes, but they're throwing a fresh person at you after every 60 seconds. So you're going for a minute, stop, bow, boom, out, new person in, bow, go. Because it's not how good your technique is, when you're fresh, that's important, just like willpower. It's how good are you when you're beat to hell, you're beyond exhaustion, and you can barely stand up. Can you still do the things you need to do?
And you know what? That's a really good transition back to mindset, because like you said with willpower, it also applies to mindset, because I know for me personally, my mindset starts to slowly drift back to fixed when I am
that's
tired.
why you train.
That's why you train, and you can train in all areas, and you train in mindset. You can train in mindset. That's what meditation does. That's what a lot of things do. And I think it's really interesting, because that's very, very true. When I am tired, my mindset can sink if I am not paying attention to it, or if I don't have my tools. And that was one of the things I wanted to make sure we talked about really briefly, is share the tools we all have. And we've talked about a few already that we use to help us get back to mindset. And I loved Zina's about listening to an upbeat podcast or an upbeat YouTube video. I used to do that too. I used to pull some of the Abraham Hicks stuff. I really liked her voice, and I liked how she sounded, and I liked the things she said. Whether I believed in stuff or not didn't matter. She was always very positive. And so we've talked about meditation as a tool. We've talked about even martial arts as a tool. I think exercise is a great tool for resetting mindset. When I'm mad or upset or something, I go for a walk, and it helps me tremendously. It sounds like Faye knits when she needs a little.
5 a.m. Club. Has anybody read that one?
Which one?
5 a.m. Club. It's like, okay, it says in the 5 a.m. Club, you get up at 5 a.m. First thing you do is meditate 20 minutes fast exercise, and then 20 minutes of something else. I don't know. I can't remember, but it was a really good listen.
I haven't read that one, but I think I've heard about it from, it might have been Dean Graziosi, and he said something very similar. He does something similar. I think it was him, where he has these 3 20-minute chunks. Maybe it was somebody else, but in the last chunk, he said he finds or reads or listens to something that progresses his mind, like whether it's a book or a book on tape.
He has to listen to it. Yeah.
Listen or read or whatever. But that's interesting. Any other tools that people use to help them either stay in a really healthy mindset?
Mind, body, spirit connection. Body, mind, and spirit. I think that's part of martial art. The what?
I find that one at the beach.
Find that one, mind, body, spirit. Yes.
He's in Florida, and he gets to go out every morning.
I'm in Florida too.
So you guys understand that beautiful sunrise and being out there on the water. It's just amazing.
I like the river. Oh my Lord.
So Jeff's tool is the beach. And you know what?
I have more than one tool.
No. It's but I love the water too, by the way.
4.
What was that, Jeff?
I said my alarm goes off at 4. And then as far as words go, ever heard of Goggins?
Sounds Sounds familiar.
Goggins. He's a Marine. He was fat.
Yeah, what's his first name? Do you know? I think I have heard of him.
Why is it slipping from me?
It's okay. Anyway, what about him?
Because I wake up to him yelling at me. He says, "How dare you?"
Sleeping.
Well, you'll be glad to know I get up at almost 5 every morning. I go make a stop and I go back to bed.
Oh.
But I'm normally up till about 2 o'clock in the morning. So you know.
That's right. I am not an early riser at all.
But
No,
so
I
that
do
repetition
try to
of
stay up later, yeah.
I didn't
got
used
up
to be, but I
for
find it.
years.
Jeff, you
No,
had
I
your hand
just-
up. Did you get to say what you wanted to?
was
Who were
What
you talking
happened?
to, Faye?
You had Jeff had his hand up for quite a
Oh,
while.
right.
I wondered if he had
but I did well. I got a poem I want to read out of Think and Grow
Oh,
Rich.
yeah, sure. Read it to us. Read it.
Um, this is in chapter 2 of Think and Grow Rich, which I use for my self-confidence. But if you think you are beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you like to win, but you think you can't, it's almost certain you won't. If you think you lose, you're lost. For out of the world we find success begins with a fellow's will. It's all in the state of mind. If you think you are outclassed, you are. You've got to think high to rise. You've got to be sure of yourself before you can ever win a prize. Life's battles don't always go to the stronger or faster man, but sooner or later, the man who wins is the man who thinks he can.
I love it.
I
That
like
almost brings
that.
me to
Very
tears.
good.
By the way, the secret in that book is in the title.
Think and
Think
grow
and
rich.
grow rich.
Rich. Hey,
Yes.
Jeff, would
No.
you be willing to either take a picture of that, probably be the easiest, or retype it or something? Can you put that in on our Life Mastery Collective
Yes, I
Facebook
can.
page? I would love to have that as a post. I think that's beautiful.
I will.
That would be great. Yeah.
Affirmations similar to the poem. That's another tool.
Yeah.
You know, you affirm something every day. So
Yeah,
that's another strategy.
That you use, Heather?
Sometimes. You know, I just
Yeah.
say certain things to myself
Like
when I
affirmation.
get up in the mornings, right? So
That's a good
similar to Jeff's poem.
Nice.
and actually, it's something that'll help. One things I've taught people for years is, again, going back to programming your mind. Find a good positive book like Think and Grow Rich or whatever. You know, I've read, I don't know, over 1,000 books in my life, and some I go back and I reread. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie's a great book. There's a lot of great books out there.
Yeah.
Og Mandino books are awesome.
Yeah.
But if you'll spend at least 15 minutes, the last 15 minutes before you go to sleep, read a positive attitude book, because the last thing you put in your mind is it's going to be pinging around there all night in your subconscious because it never sleeps, and that'll help you wake up to good stuff too. I stopped watching the news at night, I think 1982, and I haven't had a nightmare since then.
Interesting.
So because you
Yeah.
put all that negative crap in your mind, oh, look how many murders there are, fires, or this
It's
or that.
true.
Well, get what you think about. The other thing is listen to some kind of audio every day. So listen to an audio a day, read at least 15 minutes before you go to sleep from a positive book to help with your attitude. Get around people that are positive as much as you can. And part of that is through things like this, through Zoom, where you can associate with people that can help you, that are moving forward with more of a growth mindset mode than the fixed mindset mode.
And basically, oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, there's enough other people out there that'll drag you down. It's like crabs in a pot. You know how crabs work, right? Crab pot. One crab in a pot can climb out of the pot. But if two crabs are in a pot and one tries to get out, the other will pull it back in. And if there's a whole bunch of crabs in and a crab tries to get out once the bait's gone, the rest will try and pull it in. And if it keeps fighting, they will literally rip it limb from limb and tear it apart to keep it from getting out. Unfortunately, a lot of the people we're surrounded by will do the same thing mentally. So be careful who you take your advice from.
Yeah.
Be careful
That's very true.
be careful who you surround yourself with. If you want to to learn, like our good friend Justin, if you want to learn how to play pickleball, are you going to go to a golf pro? Golf pro's awesome. Golf pro's great at what he does. Not a pickleball expert. So maybe you want to find somebody that knows how to do what you want to do. You know, I know a lot about nutrition and stuff because I've studied it over the years for my own personal stuff. I've been a massage therapist. I've done a lot of things. But if I really want to get in depth, I would probably go to someone like Andrea or Heather because they've got a little bit heavier background in it. If you're talking technology, I'm probably the one on in this little forum that would be the one to go to because I spent over 40 years working on technology. I started off with nuclear reactors and went into computers once they became a thing. But actually, Ashley's pretty good too because she's IT. But you know, so we all have our backgrounds. My point is, go to someone that's an expert or has done what you want to do, or is at least progressing and is taking mentorship from people that have done what you want to do, have the lifestyle or the results that you want. You know, don't go to the guy holding up a sign that says, "We'll work for food," although some of those are franchises and they do make some pretty good bucks. But don't go to the guy holding up a sign on the street corner and expect him to teach you how to get 40 acres and a mansion. It's not good.
That's a good point.
Off my street corn.
That's I think that's probably a good way to wrap up. It is 1 o'clock. It's a minute after, and I don't want
I was going to say we're about there.
Too much longer, yeah. But that is a good point, and thank you, Kurt. That was one of the reasons why we decided to open up our Life Mastery Collective meetings here and there to others, is because we have gotten so much from one another in our chats, and we have found that we, as a collective, we are very positive, very uplifting, very helpful, very, you know, like we managed to do that together as a group and do that for one another, things like that. Yeah, groups are important, and we found so much from this group that we wanted to share it with other people. So thank you for joining us today. We really enjoyed it. If anybody else has anything last to say, otherwise I will close it out.
I want to say thank you for joining too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good.